Welcome back, everyone, to Genshin Interact. Today, we're going to go over Article 20 of the Interact post, and thank you guys once again for watching all of the Interact posts that have been up to this point. We finally made it to number 20, and we're going to keep going on with this, but we do want to jump right into a lot of things that we have today. There's little bits and pieces of what we're getting through. A lot of it is through what we're getting in 4.6, as well as talking about some changes that happened with Arlecchino. Now, the first thing we want to bring up is the treasure compass improvement. Now, this is kind of a quality of life thing I didn't really see coming, at least. I don't know about you, Rift, but this is kind of the first time I'm actually seeing anything. And it's going to be using the treasure compass. When you use it, you will show treasure chests on the minimap. So it's nothing crazy. It's nothing like, it totally doesn't have like a totally different change, or it doesn't just give you the chest automatically or whatever. It just basically makes it a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming either. So that'll be kind of interesting. It'll be kind of fun to help out exploration, true exploration. And then there's people like me who just use the interactive map. But anyways, looking past that, we have a free 4-star in 4.6, guys. That's pretty big. Getting a free 4-star is always pretty big, but it's going to be Goro. So maybe some of us, oof, but definitely the Geo mains will be rejoicing if you still don't have the C6 on Goro. So that's going to be obviously a W right there. So that'll be, you'll be able to get them from the main event that goes on in 4.6. So that's pretty exciting.
I think getting 4 stars is always kind of nice. I know it is, once again, like you were saying, it's a little bit of an oof for having, it be Goro. But, whether it be, someone who loves Ito or Noel or whatever, there's still some good usage to him as well. So, and, you've always got the people that want to go physical route with him or whatever, just to play around with him. So, especially the people that did get the recent character in Chiori, then, there's some good usage there here and there that they can hopefully get some use out of him with. But going on to the next speculation really quickly, we do want to talk about how there's going to be some differences in what's going to be happening in 4.6 with the quest line. Now, talking specifically a little bit more with like story quests, we're going to be getting an Arlecchino specific story quest because she's going to be the new character, as well as we're going to be getting a Sino story quest. And it seems like there is going to be a desert dungeon that we can find in Sumeru or in some area near Sumeru, maybe underground near Rumeria, like we were talking about in the last Interact post, in that underground area. It seems like there is a huge area that you can explore. It's not necessarily a domain, but almost an entire underground area that we can explore. Now, I think this is really, really cool because it even looks like it even has like an Anubis look to him, I think, in the background of one of these, and it seems very similar to a lot of the underground exploration that we saw in Sumeru, and it's kind of along that idea, and it just, obviously, in normal Genshin sense, it looks absolutely beautiful and amazing. So a lot of interesting stuff, and especially considering it has a lot of Anubis like things going on, and almost the staff from the new 4-star event, it actually has like Anubis holding it in a lot of different areas as well. So a lot of ties to Sino, so I'm extremely excited for what that's going to do for him.
I'm always just more excited for more exploration. And when it comes to exploration, some of my favorite experiences from doing so has been Sumeru, and specifically the desert region, which I, thought would totally be the opposite. Usually I actually don't really care for like the desert regions or levels in a variety of different games, but I actually really liked the desert region of Sumeru. So I'm really pumped for this. Anyways, looking at our next thing for 4.6, we are actually going to get some new ports in Sumeru. So we do have, obviously, the Port Ormos, which everyone, associates with the awesome theme song. But we are going to be getting beta port. So that looks pretty interesting, and maybe having, once again, more exploration opportunities.
Getting new areas is always really cool, especially getting the different ports and whatnot. Because, I think ever since the port in Sumeru kind of opened up, it's probably one of the best soundtracks in Sumeru. I've always been kind of looking forward to them, to hope maybe that there's a little bit better of an idea coming from there. But now that we're going to be talking or getting the end of a little bit of the 4.6 stuff, we'll go into 4.7 and what 4.8, kind of what we've seen a little bit there. But it seems like in 4.6, just going right back to talking about Arlecchino and some changes that we've kind of been seeing, at least from her. Now, the first thing to bring up is her skills heal that she gets from her skill it seems like it might be moved over to her burst, and it seems like her burst energy requirement is now brought down to 50, so it makes it a little bit easier to bring down that ER requirement so that you don't have to worry too much about the energy cost. And then supposedly, now I would, some of these changes are a little bit too far fetched in my opinion. Like personally, I don't think the skill is going to be changed to the burst. It seems almost a little bit too similar to Hu Tao, as well as it talks about, we've seen a leak about it resetting the cooldown on your skill. Your ult will reset, or your burst will reset the cooldown on your skill, which that seems a little too goated in my personal opinion. I think it will
It's
work.
like a C1 Kazuha.
Right. It's almost like you're getting a constellation for free just from, a change. Now, this could be really, really good for her, especially because in the next leak we have using the E or the skill will get a 25% bond of life. Now, that's just great to see, especially if we can use the skill and then ult and then use the skill again, or burst and then use the skill again. It's 50% bond of life, never mind the 15 that we already get from the burst. And so that's already a 65% bond of life increase, which is extremely, extremely good. It almost just makes me a little bit concerned, if you will. And then what's also, though, extremely nice, I think we've seen multiple people say this, so it has some validity to it, is that bond of life consumption will be brought down from the 5.5%. So every time you did a normal attack, it brought down your bond of life by 5.5%. Now it's only going to be down to 4% for each one. So it's only a 1.5% decrease, but that's still about a 20% decrease of taking away your bond of life, which is a good thing. So I think some of these things are pretty good.
It'll definitely make a difference in the long run. A chain of normal attacks, you'll see a difference. Some other changes we do see also with Arlecchino is that her damage increase from her Feast of Red Death is increased from 238% to 280%. So that's quite an increase right there. We also see that her normal attacks adjusted, or her remade kind of normal attacks from this. The range that can actually do is going to be increased to 5 units of distance. Looking at her weapon, there's some changes there as well. We see that her weapon, instead of giving the bond of life that it used to give, I forget exactly what it was, but it's been lowered to 18% from, I think it was 25% that it would give you. So it's giving you a little bit less bond of life, but the damage buff from the weapon has been increased to 40% from 32%. So that's a pretty good, fair exchange, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely think some of the different things, especially, getting that normal attack increase, it used to be down to right in before her ult change. And so now the distance has been a little bit longer, where I think it's now as long or a little bit longer than what Raiden can do with her normal or her attacks when she's in her burst state.
Oh yeah, and that feels really good.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be a little bit nicer to have, especially to make her feel a little bit better. And then obviously the signature getting a little bit of a nerf, but then also a little bit of a buff is nice, considering she's already getting so much of a buff from her actual kit. Now, also, it seems like the text description in her kit has been changed, where her max bond of life that you can have, it changed to, if you had 18,000, HP, then you would have basically that much bond of life as well. Whereas now it's 200% of your max HP. So all these percentages, basically, your consumption has been lowered. The amount of bond of life that you can hold now has been doubled. So, and then obviously I think that's why we're getting the ability to get so much more
Mm-hmm.
bond of life, because we can hold
Exactly.
way more. So I think it's not necessarily like we're getting a higher cap, which is nice, and then we're also getting a faster increase on how we can get that bond of life, which is going to be good in the long run, especially with those blood dead directives being able to grab a max of 30% or 70%, sorry. So that'd be kind of good.
It's very good. Just do that with our resin.
Yeah, exactly. If we could get a buff to our resin again, that'd be awesome. The constellations have gotten a few changes as well. The C1 will give a new interruption resistance effect that wasn't there before, and it's going to be akin to how good the interruption resistance is for Nervalette. So keep that in mind. That's going to be really, really good. The C1 in Nervalette is really, really good because of the difference between the C0 and the C1. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of people had an issue with her being smacked around very easily, and kind of thinking that she would have to be forcefully paired with someone like Zhongli or just a shielder in general to kind of protect her, or maybe even Dia to give her an interruption resistance, whereas now she kind of gives that to herself. It is locked behind a C1, so it's not, goaded. It's not putting her in an actual kit, but it is nice to know that that is still there, and, it is a low constellation as well.
So those are some pretty cool changes with Arlecchino. Once again, guys, this still could change, so don't, take it and write it down as this is what Arlecchino will do, right? It can all change. But moving past that, we're looking now at 4.7. In 4.7, we may see Sijuan and the character we talked about in last Interact post, Sethos, the 4-star. So this makes me wonder, obviously, if we're going to be having Sethos here, this does kind of solidify my thinking, at least, that Sijuan will indeed actually be a 5-star, because we've never really seen two new 4-stars right at the exact same time. So that's just kind of a thought there. Obviously, I'm not too sure on that. It could be different. That could, there's a first time for everything. So that's not to say that won't happen. So that could definitely happen, but that's my thought there. And then with 4.8, we're still looking at Clorinde here. Well, actually, we were previously thinking Clorinde would be in 4.7 and Emily would be in 4.8, but now they shifted Clorinde to 4.8, and Emily is now out of the picture. It doesn't look like we'll actually be getting her in Fontaine. So personally, I find that kind of interesting, because now I'm wondering, okay, when will we get her? If we get her, stuff like that. So maybe have Emily in 4.8, but it's all once again subject to change, so we'll see how that goes. But Vixen, what are some of your thoughts on this?
Well, I know a lot of leakers have been kind of personally feeling that this is a little bit of a weird change, like you were just talking about, because a lot of them believe that 4.8 is very surrounded around having Emily, and like the entire idea behind it. We've just gotten that from a lot of leakers, so it's very difficult to really, or just a lot of speculation has been kind of pushing that way. And then Clorinde has been in 4.7, I think, for the longest time, and no one's really moved her out of that. And, not necessarily to say that that can't happen, but it's just very weird how that's kind of working around things in that sense. So I would be a little bit more cautious of this. Personally, I do think along the idea where Sijuan and Clorinde are going to be in 4.7, even if they are new, 5-stars, even together with Sethos, I think that maybe, Clorinde will be in the first half and Sijuan will be in the second half, or maybe, Sijuan's brought down to a 4-star again and Sethos is put in 4.8, or vice versa. I just personally don't think that, this is a correct change, if you will. I think there's just kind of some weird and awkward speculation that not a lot of people really know
Yeah.
too much with 4.7 and 4.8. Well, that's everything we have for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and please go ahead and like and subscribe, and go ahead and check out our Discord channel as well if you'd like to talk with us or other people in our community. And that's everything we have for this week, so we'll see you guys in the next one.